awake at 3 a.m., phone in your hand, staring at a thread that used to feel alive. A week ago, they were warm, curious, responsive. You could feel the pull. Now it's delayed replies, short answers, and a silence that makes you question your own reality. So you do what most men do when uncertainty hits. You send the, hey, just checking in text. You ask if everything's okay. You try to be patient, understanding, mature. And somehow, the more carefully you show up, the more they slip away. Like the harder you grip, the faster it disappears. Here's what you need to hear, and it's going to sting at first. This dynamic isn't primarily about how much they care. It's about what your presence activates inside their nervous system. And it's about what your reaction to their distance reveals about you. Loving an avoidant person feels like trying to hug someone through glass. You can see their warmth. You can feel the connection is possible, but there's always an invisible barrier between we could be close and we are close. And the worst part is that they often look like they want the glass to break, while still keeping their hand pressed against it, holding it in place. Avoidant people aren't people who don't want love. A lot of them want love desperately. They just learned early that love comes with a cost, that closeness leads to pressure, that being needed turns into being trapped, that intimacy means losing themselves, so their system adapts. They build a life where they feel safe through distance. They become skilled at self-reliance, skilled at rationalizing, skilled at being fine. And the moment a relationship starts moving toward real closeness, their body reacts like something is wrong. Not because you're wrong, because their wiring associates emotional intensity with danger. Let's make this concrete. When you lean in with love, your brain says connection. When they feel you leaning in, their body might say pressure. That's the war, not between you and them, inside them. And if you don't understand that, you'll do the one thing that guarantees you lose your leverage, your dignity, and eventually your mind. You'll try to love them harder into feeling safe. You'll chase. You'll over-explain. You'll negotiate for basic clarity. You'll turn your nervous system into a full-time job managing theirs. And here's the brutal truth. An avoidant partner often feels safest when they don't feel responsible for your emotional state. If your mood rises and falls based on their replies, their distance doesn't just create anxiety in you. It creates pressure in them. Because now, closeness isn't just closeness. It's obligation. So before we talk about what to do, I want you to see what's happening under the hood. Because once you understand the mechanism, you stop making it personal. And when you stop making it personal, you stop bleeding power. Pause. The avoidant nervous system doesn't fear you. It fears what closeness has meant before. Avoidant attachment is not a personality quirk. It's a protection strategy, usually formed early. When a child learns some version of these lessons, if I need too much, I get rejected. If I express emotion, it's unsafe. If I depend on someone, I lose control. If I get close, I get hurt. So they become adults who can do intimacy in small, controlled doses. They can be amazing in the beginning because the beginning feels safe. Early dating has space. It has independence. It has mystery. There's no shared mortgage, no merged identity, no expectations. They can be present because the stakes feel low. But as things deepen, the stakes rise. And for an avoidance system, rising stakes can feel like a trap closing. So they do what their body learned to do to survive. They deactivate. That can look like they take longer to reply. They get busy suddenly. They become more critical. They focus on your flaws. They downplay the relationship. They create distance without fully ending it, not always consciously, often reflexively. And while you're thinking, we need to talk, their body is thinking, I need room. Pause. Why chasing makes it worse, even when you're being kind. When you chase, you're not just expressing love, you're applying pressure. Not intentional pressure, but pressure all the same. Because your pursuit communicates, I need reassurance. I need clarity now. I need you to be closer than you can handle. I need you to regulate me. And an avoidant person hears that as, I'm going to be responsible for your feelings. If I get closer, I'll lose my freedom. If I open up, I'll be trapped. So they do what they've always done. They back up, and you do what you've always done. You step forward again. That dance is how men get addicted to inconsistency, because the avoidant doesn't give steady warmth. They give bursts. They give contact, then withdrawal, connection, then distance, hope, then silence. And your brain is not built to handle that smoothly. Intermittent reinforcement is one of the strongest bonding mechanisms we know. It's the same mechanism that makes people pull a slot machine lever one more time. Because maybe this time the reward comes back, so you chase harder, and they pull away harder, and both of you feel justified. Pause. Now let's talk about the three triggers that flip this entire dynamic, not as tactics, as biology, as psychology, as nervous system math. Trigger 1, scarcity reversal. Why they move toward you when you stop moving toward them. Avoidants are often unconsciously attracted to what feels rare and non-demanding. When you pursue them, you become abundant, available, predictable, and in their system, abundant closeness can feel like danger. When you pull back authentically, you become scarce, but more importantly, you become non-threatening because your energy is no longer trying to grab them. It's living. This is where men misunderstand the whole thing. They think pull back means punish or play games or go cold. That's not what works. What works is when you genuinely redirect your focus to your own life, because then your nervous system calms down. And when your nervous system calms down, you stop broadcasting hunger. Let me say it clean. Avoidant people don't relax when you convince them. They relax when they feel no demand. A man I worked with learned this by accident. He spent months trying to decode mixed signals, trying to find the right wording, trying to be secure enough for her to stay present. He got exhausted, not strategically, genuinely. He stopped making her the center. He started training again. He took a weekend trip with friends. He signed up for a climbing gym. He didn't do it to get her attention. He did it because he missed being himself. 3 weeks later, she sent a message that looked casual, a photo of a book. This reminded me of you. Then she asked about his trip. Then she suggested coffee. Why? Because he stopped feeling like a pursuer and started feeling like a man with a life. Avoidants often don't miss you when you're present and pressing. They miss you when you're absent and stable. Pause. Trigger 2. Emotional regulation. Why calm masculinity is magnetic to an avoidant system. Avoidant attachment is often hypersensitive to emotional volatility, not just anger. Any energy that feels like, I need something from you right now. So when they pull away and you panic, it confirms their deepest fear. Closeness equals emotional responsibility. Many men don't realize how loud their nervous system is. You can say, I'm fine, and still communicate. I'm not fine. I'm watching. I'm waiting. I'm anxious. I need a sign. Avoidant people feel that as pressure, even if you never raise your voice, even if you're polite, even if you're understanding. Now watch what happens when you regulate yourself. They go quiet for 2 days, and you don't spiral, you don't interrogate, you don't send 5 messages to fix it. You live, you train, you handle your responsibilities, you sleep at a normal hour, you keep your dignity. Then they reappear, and you respond warm but not relieved, kind but not desperate, present but not punishing. Their nervous system experiences something rare, a man who doesn't collapse when he doesn't get instant reassurance. That's safety, not the soft, clingy version of safety, the grounded version, the kind that says, my emotions are my job. I can care about you without needing to control you. I can want connection without begging for it. And for many avoidants, that is the first time intimacy has ever felt survivable. Pause. Trigger. 3. The unconscious safety test. The test they don't know they're giving you. Avoidants are scanning constantly for one thing. Will you try to consume me? Not physically, emotionally. Will you make me responsible for your happiness? Will you lose yourself in me and then blame me for it? Will you demand a level of closeness I can't sustain? Will you punish me when I need space? Will you turn love into pressure? They don't always ask these questions consciously, but their body asks them, and your behavior answers them. When you keep trying to close the gap, you fail the test. When you stop grabbing and start standing, you pass. Passing the test doesn't mean you accept poor treatment. It means you stop collapsing into protest behavior. You stop doing the anxious dance. You stop chasing clarity from someone who can't offer it consistently. And here's the twist. When you stop trying to force closeness, they finally have room to choose it. Because choice requires space. Pressure kills choice. Pause. What's happening inside them during mutual distance? The phantom limb effect. When you stop chasing, something weird happens. They often feel relief first. That's real. The nervous system goes, ah, no demand. But then, they feel the absence because they were used to your attention being there, used to you bridging the gap, used to you being the emotional glue. That's when the phantom limb effect shows up. They reach for a connection pattern that isn't there anymore. And in that reaching, they discover something. They actually miss you. Not because you begged, because you disappeared. An avoidant man once said it perfectly. When she stopped trying to get closer to me, I finally had room to miss her. And when I missed her, I realized I wanted her. Avoidants often can't feel their love clearly when you're right in front of them asking for it. They feel it when there's enough space for their nervous system to breathe. That's the paradox. They move toward what doesn't pull. They open when they aren't pressured to open. They choose when they aren't being chosen too aggressively. Pause. Now here's where you need to get sharp, because this is where men mess up. They see the avoidant return and think, it worked. Then they go right back to chasing, and the cycle restarts. So you need to understand the difference between two kinds of reappearance: a breadcrumb, a repaired pattern. Breadcrumbs, control without vulnerability. These are the hey stranger texts, the random meme, the story view, the like on an old photo, the saw this and thought of you. It feels like contact, but it avoids depth. It avoids accountability. It avoids the hard conversation. Breadcrumbs are not intimacy. They're a check, a test, a way to regain access without risk. If you respond to breadcrumbs with full emotional availability, you teach them, I can disappear and still keep you. I can offer minimal effort and still get maximum access. And that turns you into a safety net, not a chosen man. Repair. Accountability with nervousness. When an avoidant is actually doing work, it looks different, not perfect, not poetic, but different. They acknowledge the distance, even briefly. They show a willingness to discuss patterns. They don't punish you for asking for clarity. They move towards you, even when it's uncomfortable. They make small, consistent repairs over time. The key isn't their words, it's their tolerance for emotional reality. If they can handle a real conversation without shutting down, deflecting, or turning it on you, that's growth. If they avoid every real conversation and only offer surface level contact, that's the same pattern wearing a new outfit. Pause. The part men need to hear. This isn't about getting them back. It's about getting yourself back. If you do this correctly, something powerful happens. You stop being a man whose self-worth depends on someone else's nervous system. You stop measuring your value by whether an emotionally unavailable person can finally relax. You stop calling inconsistency chemistry. You stop calling anxiety love. You learn how to care without chasing, how to love without losing frame, how to be present without begging. And here's the irony. When you become that man, avoidant people often feel you more because you're no longer trying to extract. You're no longer trying to force. You're no longer turning love into pressure. But by then, something else has changed. You're no longer willing to accept half relationships. You're no longer addicted to potential. You're no longer impressed by breadcrumbs. So your power becomes real, not strategic, real. Pause. What you do next. A clean blueprint for men who want peace and clarity. First, stop treating their distance like a puzzle you must solve. It's data. It's information. It's telling you what their capacity is right now. Second, regulate your own nervous system before you do anything. If you're texting from anxiety, you're already losing. Go train, go walk, go breathe, sleep, eat, handle your life, then decide. Third, communicate like a grounded man, not with essays, not with ultimatums, with clarity. You can say something like, I like you. I'm open to building this, but I'm not doing inconsistency. If you want space, take it. If you want connection, show up for it. That's not a threat. That's a boundary. Fourth, watch behavior over time. Not a day, not a mood, a pattern. Fifth, choose self-respect over hope. Hope without evidence is how men get stuck for years. And finally, understand this. You cannot love someone into readiness. You cannot sacrifice someone into stability. You cannot chase someone into choosing you. Real connection doesn't require you to shrink. It doesn't require you to beg for basic communication. It doesn't require you to live in constant anxiety. A healthy partner may need space sometimes, but they don't weaponize it. They don't punish you with it. They don't keep you in a permanent audition. Pause. So if you're in that silence right now, stop asking, will they text? Start asking, who am I becoming while I wait? Because mutual, no contact isn't a battle of who breaks first. It's a mirror. It reveals your attachment wounds. It reveals their capacity. And it reveals whether this connection is built on real mutual effort or on you doing all the emotional labor. You have a choice. Keep trying to convince someone to love you, or become the kind of man who doesn't need convincing. Keep chasing someone who runs, or become someone worth chasing. Not because you're playing games, because you're building a life so solid that inconsistent love no longer fits inside it. And when you reach that point, If they come back with real accountability, you'll be calm enough to receive it. If they come back with breadcrumbs, you'll be strong enough to decline it. And if they never come back at all, you'll finally understand that what you lost wasn't love. It was the exhausting job of trying to earn it. If this cracked something open in you, keep going. Build your life. Build your nervous system. Build your standards. Because you're not here to shrink for someone else's comfort. You're here to become whole. And only someone capable of real intimacy will be able to meet you there.